Here is my story. My wife and I married 2 years after dating, and she moved in with me. And a year after remarried, she got pregnant and gave birth to a boy. It was one of the happiest moments of my life because I had always longed to be a father. Even before the baby was born, I made everything he would need available. We started shopping for baby stuff after we knew the baby's gender, and I even built his nursery myself. I wanted our child to be received with love and everything to be perfect, so I didn't hold back in spending. During her pregnancy, I cared for her in every possible way. It was difficult because she had those weird cravings, and each time she needed something, I got it for her. Even if it was at an odd hour of the night. When the baby came, I was so happy, and I did everything possible to make life comfortable for my wife and child. To make my wife happy, I got her the latest iPhone as her push gift. I worked from morning to night to ensure I put food on the table and provided all their needs, even if it meant neglecting mine. We lived in peace and harmony until the baby was 6 months old. I noticed that my ex-wife started acting weird. There was a particular caller who never took the calls, and most times she would turn off the phone if the caller didn't stop calling. If she took the call, she'd go outside for it and spend time before she returned, which was very suspicious. The first time I asked about it, she told me it was a wrong number, but the more the caller continued calling, the more I was convinced it wasn't. Then one day, all hell broke loose. I was home that weekend resting inside when someone knocked at the door, and naturally, she went to get the door. Immediately, she got to the door, I heard a man raise his voice. And before I could wrap my head around what was going on, she shut the door behind her. I was curious about who it was, especially since I kept calling her name, and she did not respond. When I went outside, I recognized the man that was yelling. It was her ex-husband. I recognized him from the photos she showed me. He was obviously furious and kept yelling at her to let him see his son. My first reaction was to order him off my property, but he said he wasn't leaving until he had seen his son. I was very confused because I didn't know what he was talking about. I thought my ex-wife would say something about the son he was yelling about, but she didn't. Instead, she yelled at him and called him names. She mentioned something about him being a cheat and a liar. And in anger, he called her a bigger liar, and he turned to me with the "I'm shocked you didn't know" look. Without wasting time, he told me that he was the father of the baby my ex-wife gave birth to, and she was only living with me because I took good care of her. It sounded like a lie, but it wasn't. Even as I type this, I still feel the hurt I felt that day. It turned out that her ex-husband was telling the truth. I found out that she still met with him, and they got intimate whenever they met. And the reason she stopped taking his calls was because her ex-husband wanted to be part of the baby's life, but she refused, claiming he was a bad influence on the baby. At first, I didn't believe it. I wanted her to tell me he was lying, but she didn't. She started sobbing and even physically attacked him for ruining her life. I was so devastated and I couldn't even control my tears. After everything I had done for her and the baby, I didn't think she would betray me that way. All that while, I treated her with love, made hard sacrifices, and even built the nursery myself because I excitedly believed she was pregnant with our child. I still had doubts, so to be sure, we did a DNA test which confirmed I was not the father of her baby, and I was very heartbroken. Without thinking twice, I kicked her and the baby out of the house. It was a very painful thing to do, especially with her innocence on crying. Funnily enough, she refused to leave that day. She kept begging for mercy and saying that her ex-husband would not help her raise the child and that I was still the child's father, irrespective of what happened. But I still kicked her out. I also collected the car I got for her because it was registered in my name, and I was still paying for it. We divorced because I could not just forgive her or pretend nothing happened. Although she begged and called me several times, there was nothing I could do. She used me and was cheating on me with her ex-husband. In the end, I lost her. I lost the connection I had with the baby, and everything else went down the drain. All of the money, time, resources, and sacrifices I made counted for nothing. And although I have nothing on women, I don't think I'll ever trust and fall in love again. As for my ex-wife, she ended up raising the child alone. The last time I heard, her ex-husband had 3 baby mamas, so I guessed she was the 4th. I haven't fully moved on, but I know I'll get there. I know you're still hurting, but you should be glad things turned out this way. If her ex-husband did not show up at your house, you would have probably raised the boy, and in the end, he'd still go back to his father. I'm glad you didn't take her back, and you didn't let her manipulate you. Thank you for sharing your story with us. Now let's move on to the next story of the day. My wife, 31 female, me 35 male, were married for 4 years, and I never believed we would live apart until I discovered a shocking truth. From the first time I met my ex-wife, she had always been a yoga lover. Aside from yoga, she was always obsessed with having the perfect body, harnessing her spiritual side, and stuff I never understood. In fact, the first day I met her, she was on her way back from one of her yoga classes with her group of friends, and I liked her instantly. She had just graduated from college, and there was this spark she had that I loved about her. She was full of life, laughed a lot, and everything with her was beautiful. I was eating when she came into the restaurant with her other yoga buddies, and I was forced to pay for their meal to get her number. Something about her pulled me closer to her, and I only felt that way once in a blue moon. After I got her number, I called her immediately so she could save mine. And when I returned from work that evening, we spoke on the phone. The end of our conversation resulted in us picking a day to eat together and get to know each other, which turned out to be very successful. From our first date, I discovered that we had much in common and similar interests. Like me, my ex-wife believed there was a way to get successful at a very young age and retire at 50. She was open to trying out new ideas and buying courses that could help improve her, and she even had 2 YouTube channels to her name. Aside from my unexplainable attraction for her, my ex-wife was very intelligent. I guess it had to do with her studying business management. But she was also street smart. Even as friends, she always recommended books, seminars, and things that could help us make it early in life. And this alone was a big green flag for me. Whether it was health, personal development, career, or any wheel of life, my ex-wife always seemed to have everything under control. She was good with everything she did, and I even began to draw motivation from her. I was always looking forward to spending time with her, learning from her, and getting recent updates from her. And because I was one of the few guys who listened to her, and praised her for her commitment and discipline, we got close very fast. In a matter of weeks, she knew where I lived, and I knew where she lived too. Even without dating her, I had imagined what it would feel like to spend the rest of my life with her and how much we would grow. Not to brag, but she was different. She wasn't the regular girl who only thought about buying the next shoes, hair, cloth brand, or makeup. For her, it was how to get a big break and retire for life. She didn't subscribe to the idea of working all her life and enjoying it old age, and I belonged to that school of thought. Eventually, we became good friends, and the more I spent time with her, the more I grew to like her. The good thing was we were both single, and I was open to taking a chance with her. Right from my early teens, I had always loved intelligent girls who would blow me off my feet with their super brains, and I believed my prayers were answered when I met my ex-wife. But I was wrong. We were friends for 7 months before I asked her out. I didn't want to wait any longer before someone else would take her away from me. And from the first month of our relationship, I'd felt we were made for each other. Month after we started dating, the level at which she influenced me grew too, and many things changed in my life. We were the perfect couple, and every day, I thanked God for meeting her. As of the time we met, I was earning little but tried my best to gift her occasionally, even though they weren't expensive. I got her most of those books on business, advertising, and even one popular marketing book. The ads were everywhere. After about 2 years of dating, she got her lucky break. She was contacted to be a business consultant for a top company in her country, which turned things around for us. I worked as a marketer and tried my best to close big deals. Within the first 2 years of dating my ex-wife, I closed deals I could not close in 4 years. And although it wasn't a lot of money, it was a stepping stone for me. Shortly after that, things started to fall into place for us. I improved with marketing, persuading clients, and closing deals. She grew too. We married after dating for 3 years, and our lives continued improving. Before we married, we agreed to not have children until we reached a specific financial goal, and we didn't change the plan. We were driven by early success, and I believed that the same way famous successful men and women had done it, we could do it too. For the first 3 years of our marriage, we put in a ton of effort, had sleepless nights, brainstormed together, started a business, and even sacrificed many things to achieve our dreams. The only luxury we had was the food we ate and the apartment we lived in. We owned 2005 model car and invested every money we made from our jobs in the business we were trying to grow. Luckily, we had the most significant break in the 4th year of our marriage. Sales skyrocketed and even top organizations knew about us. In our 4th year of marriage, we decided to go on a vacation, the first after our small honeymoon vacation. I was so excited about it and happy because my dreams had become a reality. We were able to move into a bigger and more comfortable apartment, and our business was doing well. We increased the number of our remote staff and everything could be handled even in our absence. The money was rolling in steadily, and I was glad my ex-wife and I could finally live the life we had been dreaming of. I envisioned our vacation to be mind-blowing, full of intimacy, and rekindling our love, but it opened my eyes to a very painful truth that I can't get over to date. While we were on vacation, my ex-wife was still connecting to her yoga classes online. It was just a part of her I had to deal with. She was committed and never missed a day, whether sick or not. On 3rd day of our vacation, after we had gone out that morning, we returned to the apartment and rested. That afternoon, she said she was going for a walk and asked if I join her, but since I was still sleepy, I told her I would stay back and rest. Unfortunately, after she left, I couldn't sleep anymore and couldn't contact her because she didn't go out with her phone. I became bored and decided to play a game on her tablet. I didn't use my phone because I would wander off and spend the whole afternoon working or conversing with my staff. As soon as I started playing the game, a notification popped up, and it was from her yoga instructor. The last message she sent her read, "I love you," and had love emotions at the end, which I thought was odd. At first, I thought her yoga instructor was only being nice to her, but a part of me wanted to learn more. So I clicked on the message, and it opened me to their main WhatsApp chat. What I saw afterward made my heart bleed. I found messages that dated back a year, and there were all forms of voice notes between them. They also exchanged their nudes, said dirty things to each other, and would occasionally make jokes about other members of their yoga class. I could not. Because we were also so busy on our phones, I never suspected anything fishy was going on. I'd even found out that they were always meeting at different hotels to get intimate, and each time they were together, they made videos of them in bed or in the bathroom together. On that day, I realized that my ex-wife was not obsessed with yoga, but she was obsessed with her yoga instructor. She repeatedly told him she worshipped the ground he walked on and said things to him that she had never told me. According to her messages, he was her spiritual guide, and opened her eyes to the real truth. Reading all those weird things and seeing pictures and videos of them together destroyed a part of me. Even if I had been told by a psychic that my wife was cheating or would cheat on me, I would not have believed it. I trusted her with everything, and I wanted more than anything to spend the rest of my life with her. When I had seen enough, I forwarded all the messages, pictures, and videos to my phone and cleared every trace that I had attached her phone. I returned to bed before she returned, but she could tell I was sad about something. She pressed to know what it was, and I lied to her that I had lost a mega deal and felt terrible about it. I pretended to be sick 2 days later, and our vacation was cut short. When we returned, I knew she wouldn't miss her yoga class the next day, and she didn't. An hour after she left that morning, I surprised her at her class, and I asked if I could play her something on their general screen in her presence, and her yoga instructor agreed. Immediately, the first video started playing. Everyone gasped in surprise and turned to her and their yoga instructor. I watched my ex-wife stand there in confusion with tears in her eyes. She had tried to walk closer to me, but ended up running out of the hall in embarrassment, her yoga instructor trying to hide his chain. But I played the recording too, and everyone saw their messages. It was such a big mess. When I got home, I realized that she had moved some of her things out of our room, and she left a small note which read, "I'm sorry." And that was the end of the road for us. We ended up divorcing and splitting every money we made from the business. And as for her yoga instructor, he was fired, and neither he nor my ex-wife, Dheeraj, showed their faces at the facility again. I knew I could survive without her, but despite everything we had achieved together, I still hate her for doing what she did to me. She couldn't even face me to apologize or something. She just dropped a note. We haven't spoken to each other since then, and it's been 2 years now, and I've still been struggling to move on. It's terrible how good men always end up with unappreciative women. I'm so sorry this happened to you. It has happened, and it doesn't make sense for you to keep holding on to the past. Your ex-wife chose to cheat on you with her yoga instructor, and you shouldn't punish yourself for that. I understand she played a significant role in your life, but it's time to let go. I'm happy to hear that you didn't try to make things work, especially since she didn't show any form of remorse. You're stronger than you think. You just need to find your strength again. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to today's stories. If you enjoyed listening, please feel free to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, comment below with your thoughts on what happened. If there is a story you would like to share with me about your own situation or someone else's, then please do not hesitate to